Suddenly the door opened and in came Mrs. Banks. "I thought I heard the babies," she said. Then she ran to the twins. "What is it, my darlings? Oh, my treasures, my sweets, my lovebirds. What is it? Why are they crying so, Mary Poppins? They've been so quiet all the afternoon. Not a sound out of them. What can be the matter?" "Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I expect they're getting their teeth, ma'am," said Mary Poppins, deliberately not looking in the direction of the Starling. "Oh, of course. That must be it," said Mrs. Banks brightly.
"I don't want teeth, if they make me forget all the things I like best," wailed John, tossing about in his cot.
"Neither do I," wept Barbara, burying her face in her pillow. "My poor ones, my pets. It will be all right when the naughty old teeth come through," said Mrs. Banks soothingly, going from one cot to the other.
"You don't understand," roared John furiously. "I don't want teeth. It won't be all right. It'll be all wrong,"
wailed Barbara to her pillow. "Yes, yes, there. Mother knows. Mother understands. It will be all right when the teeth come through," crooned Mrs. Banks tenderly. A faint noise came from the window. It was the Starling hurriedly swallowing a laugh. Mary Poppins gave him one look. That sobered him, and he continued to regard the scene without the hint of a smile. Mrs. Banks was patting her children gently, first one and then the other, and murmuring words that were meant to be reassuring. Suddenly John stopped crying. He had very good manners, and he was fond of his mother, and remembered what was due to her. It was not her fault, poor woman, that she always said the wrong thing. It was just, he reflected, that she did not understand. So, to show that he forgave her, he turned over on his back, and very dolefully, sniffing back his tears, he picked up his right foot in both hands and ran his toes along his open mouth. "Clever one, oh, clever one," said his mother admiringly. He did it again, and she was very pleased. Then Barbara, not to be outdone in courtesy, came out of her pillow and, with her tears still wet on her face, sat up and plucked off both her socks. "Wonderful girl," said Mrs. Banks proudly, and kissed her. "There, you see, Mary Poppins, they're quite good again. I can always comfort them. Quite good, said Mrs. Banks as though she was singing a lullaby. "And the teeth will soon be through." "Yes, ma'am," said Mary Poppins quietly, and smiling to the twins, Mrs. Banks went out and closed the door. The moment she had disappeared, the Starling burst into a peal of rude laughter. "Excuse me smiling," he cried, "but really I can't help it. What a scene! What a scene!" John took no notice of him. He pushed his face through the bars of his cot and called softly and fiercely to Barbara.
"I won't be like the others. I tell you I won't.
He jerked his head towards the Starling and Mary Poppins.
"They can say what they like. I'll never forget. Never."
Mary Poppins smiled, a secret "I know better than you" sort of smile, all to herself.
"Nor I,"
answered Barbara.
"Ever."
"Bless my tail feathers, listen to 'em!" shrieked the Starling as he put his wings on his hips and roared with mirth. "As if they could help forgetting! Why, in a month or two, 3 at the most, they won't even know what my name is, silly cuckoos, silly half-grown featherless cuckoos! And with another loud peal of laughter, he spread his speckled wings and flew out of the window. It was not very long afterwards that the teeth, after much trouble, came through as all teeth must, and the twins had their first birthday. The day after the birthday party, the Starling, who had been away on holiday at Bournemouth, came back to number 17 Cherry Tree Lane. "Hello, hello, hello! Here we are again!" he screamed joyfully, landing with a little wobble upon the window-sill. "Well, how's the girl?" he inquired cheekily of Mary Poppins, cocking his little head on one side and regarding her with bright, amused, twinkling eyes. "None the better for your asking," said Mary Poppins, tossing her head. The Starling laughed. "Same old Mary P," he said. "No change out of you. How are the other ones, the cuckoos?" he asked, and looked across at Barbara's cot. "Well, Barbarina," he began in his soft, wheedling voice, "anything for the old fella today?"
"Blah, blah, blah, blah,"
said Barbara, crooning gently as she continued to eat her arrowroot biscuit. The Starling, with a start of surprise, hopped a little nearer. "I said," he repeated more distinctly, "is there anything for the
old fella today, Barbie dear.
Blues, blues, blues.
Murmured Barbara, gazing up at the ceiling as she swallowed the last sweet crumb. The starling stared at her. "Ha!" he said suddenly, and turned and looked inquiringly at Mary Poppins. Her quiet glance met his in a long look. Then, with a darting movement, the starling flew over to John's cot and alighted on the rail. John had a large woolly lamb hugged close in his arms.
What's my name? What's my name? What's my name?
Cried the starling in a shrill, anxious voice. Said John, opening his mouth and putting the leg of the woolly lamb into it. With a little shake of the head, the starling turned away.
So it's happened,
he said quietly to Mary Poppins. She nodded. The starling gazed dejectedly for a moment at the twins. Then he shrugged his speckled shoulders.
Oh, well, I knew it would. Always told them so, but they won't believe it.
He remained silent for a little while, staring into the cots. Then he shook himself vigorously.
Well, I must be off back to my chimney. You'll need a spring cleaner, I'll be bound.
He flew onto the windowsill and paused, looking back over his shoulder.
It will seem funny without them, though. Always liked talking to them, so I did. I shall miss them.
He brushed his wing quickly across his eyes.
Crying?
Jeered Mary Poppins. The starling drew himself up.
Crying? Certainly not. I have a slight cold. Caught on my return journey, that's all. Yes, a slight cold, nothing serious.
He darted up to the window pane, brushed down his breast feathers with his beak, and then, "Cheerio," he said perkily, and spread his wings, and was gone.